Wow, here we are again, Brother Peter, with tidbits from the Word. We're having so much fun, I can't quit. We're going to talk about Matthew, who was called Levi. Levi, the son of Alphaeus. And we hear a lot about him as we're studying the New Testament. In Mark 2 and 14, he was from Capernaum. He was a tax collector in Galilee. He possibly was a brother of James of Alphaeus. And Mark 3 and 18. He was listed as one of Christ's 12 disciples or apostles, and Matthew 10 and 2 and 4 and Acts 1 and 13. He wrote the Gospel of Matthew. And the name Matthew derives from the Hebrew meaning gift of God. Wasn't that wonderful? God put this book, Matthew, in there as a gift of God for you and I. I love Matthew. I study Matthew constantly. I listen to it in tapes and narration. I watch it in videos, and I do everything I can to see about Matthew. Matthew left his tax collecting booth to follow Jesus. Matthew 9:9. I see this picture of Jesus walking up in front of Matthew. And Matthew's there counting the money out and everything. And I see Jesus' eye looking at Matthew, meeting Matthew's eye. And not saying a word. Nothing. Just looking. And then he very lightly says, "Follow me." Matthew pushes the money back. Gets up out of the money changer seat. And follows Jesus. And just walks off and leaves all behind him, the world. When you and I got saved, that was our job. Walk away from the world. I walked away from being a full-fledged alcoholic, a full-fledged cusser, a full-fledged drunk, a full-fledged everything that you could possibly think of. I did it in my life and lived to tell about it. Only God could have made me survive with the folks that I came against in my life. And ugly as I was, I should have been dead a dozen times. But God delivered me from death a dozen times. And so here I am now. I'm 78 now and probably healthier than I was when I was 30. With my alcoholism at 30 years old, 29, 30 years old. And able to stand up and do God's work. Now, Bartholomew, we did him. We're in Matthew now. Levi, son of Alphaeus, from Capernaum, tax collector of Galilee, possibly the brother of James, listed as one of Christ's 12, wrote the Gospel of Matthew. His name was Matthew, derived from the Hebrew word, gift of God. He was a patient man. He was a hospitable man. Matthew left his tax collecting when Jesus stood in front of him and said, "Follow me." Matthew invited Jesus over to dine with him with his whole bunch of corrupt friends. And Jesus went. He said, "I'll come, I'll go." And sent out a mission to the Jews to preach. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. And heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, and cast out demons. Matthew 10, 5 and 8 was presented at the Lord's Supper, Last Supper. Matthew 26 and 20, Jesus is for everyone, even sinners, an outcast. He was considered an outcast by people collecting that money. And let's look at some of the stories suggested that Matthew ministered to Persia, in Mesopotamia. He went to Syria, Parathyra, to Media, to Ethiopia, and he brought the good news to the king. Some stories suggest that Matthew died a martyr, and the symbol of Matthew is sometimes a bag of coins, in reference to his occupation as a tax collector before he encountered Jesus. That is something, isn't it? Great guy, wasn't he? Great guy. We'll see you next time. Right. Bye-bye. Oh, my finger's shaky.